The Outlaw Bank. What a book. A wild ride into the secret heart of the BCCI. It's by Jonathan Beaty and S.C. Gwynne. The description on the back says, The Outlaw Bank. Here is detailed and spellbinding account of the collapse of the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, one of the greatest financial scandals of all time. The reader becomes fully apprised of the events and the players in this sordid story involving the wealthy heads of state and governments. The scandal affords a rare and representative glimpse at the trillion-dollar-plus underground market of secret money that moves at will in and out of the world's most sophisticated and highly regulated economies. For their work on the BCCI story for Time magazine, Gwynne and Beaty won the General Loeb Award, the most prestigious award for business journalism, as well as the Jack Anderson Award for the best investigative reporting. The Outlaw Bank was named by Businessweek as one of the top 9 business books for 1993. Jonathan Beaty, a senior correspondent for Time magazine, gained a national reputation for his investigative reporting unraveling financial and political conspiracies ranging from the Vatican banking scandal to the BCCI affair. Now retired and living on a remote cattle ranch in New Mexico, he is writing a book about the CIA and Middle Eastern arms dealings. S.C. Sam Gwynne is executive editor of the Texas Monthly Magazine, an Austin, Texas-based publication with a readership of 2.5 million. He was formerly a national correspondent, senior editor, and bureau chief for Time magazine. Prior to that, he was an international banker. He lives with his wife and daughter in Austin, Texas. After reading this, I just feel like screaming, beware of any bank that's for globalism or internationalism, or any business for that too. There's all kinds of details in here about how and who and what they did. One of the main points was our government people that was in on this, and old Bush is there, and there is a couple of things in here I wanted to read to you a little bit to show you what you can expect. Page 214. Now let's say that the individual who has set up all this is not content just to pay no taxes on his offshore income. He wants the money paid into his U.S. bank account, and he still wants to pay no taxes on it. This is a bit more involved, but still not very difficult. For $5,000, it is possible to have one's very own offshore bank in the Netherlands, Antilles. Though this is really nothing more than a paper bank, the secrecy laws in the Antilles will prevent anyone from ever finding that out. To get the money back into the United States without having to pay taxes on it, the individual need only transfer funds from the offshore Irish account to the offshore bank in the Antilles. From there, a loan for the same amount is created, and the funds are transferred to an American bank. The IRS or anyone else who cares to look sees only a loan and no income. Meanwhile, the individual can pay his own offshore bank interest on the fictitious loan, which is deductible from our U.S. taxable income, while the interest itself shows no profit in the tax-free offshore haven. This is business as usual for countless thousands of companies. In fact, offshore captive banks and insurance companies have been common practice for years among the Fortune 500. Bermuda insurance captives were all the rage in the 1970s, for example, and were especially favored by Midwestern manufacturing companies such as Firestone Tire and Rubber in Akron, Ohio. They were thus able to deduct their premiums from their U.S. income while booking the revenue offshore. The same game exactly. Oh yes, then they're still working on doing that. And perhaps the most disturbing aspect on page 323, the most disturbing aspect of the BCCI affair in the United States was the failure of U.S. government and federal law enforcement to move against the Outlaw Bank. Instead of swift retribution, what took place over more than a decade was a cover-up of major alarming proportions, often orchestrated from the very highest level of government. When the Justice Department finally moved decisively against BCCI in the late 1991, it did so reluctantly, with both Robert Morgenthau and the National Press Corps breathing down its neck. The government knew a great deal about the BCCI's criminality and knew it from a wide variety of sources, though the public did not hear about its transgressions until later. BCCI had long been graven into the annals of U.S. law enforcement, intelligence, national security, and diplomacy. Authentic, unambiguous information about the bank's money laundering, weapons dealing, nuclear proliferation, terrorist accounts, and other crimes has reached the State Department, the Justice Department, the Treasury, the CIA, and even the White House's National Security Council years before. The detail of information was exceptional. The failure to follow up on it baffling. U.S. officialdom had known for years just exactly how bad the bank was, and even though it secretly owned First American Bank, the government had enough information by the mid-1980s to put BCCI on the most wanted list, wrote Representative Charles Schumer, D. New York, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee's subcommittee on crime and criminal justice, in his highly critical report of law enforcement's handling of allegations against BCCI. It is clear that federal authorities had scores of contacts concerning BCCI dating as far back as 1983. The authorities offered no explanation other than the now familiar and specious claim that the government had acted with dispatch. One, it had hard information. Oh, what a tangle web we weave when first we practice to deceive. These banks and these businesses, as well as some of these states, are on the market and want to become global to keep getting money off illegal drugs, terrorism, arms, human smuggling. All the worst things you can think of is what they're making money off of. I suspected it, and after reading this book, I'm very sure. And I suggest you read it and let me know if it's true or not. Because if it is, we're in deep trouble until we start straightening people up with the law. Because they're trying to destroy our law and order. You cannot have order without law. And no one is above the law. Have a great evening. Hope you read this soon. Later.